And now, parenthood. We've come a long way since the days when raising the kids was a woman's job. In the 90s, parenting is a 50-50 proposition, a job shared equally by mothers and fathers. At least that's the idea. But is that what's really going on? Tonight, see for yourself in John Stossel's eye-opening report. In the modern American family, Dad is finally pitching in. But don't be fooled. You know who's really raising the kids.
It's the age of equality, so fathers do more parenting. This was supposed to make everything better, and in many ways it has. But it's also given us new things to fight about. Corey Weiner considers himself one of those progressive dads. At the end of his workday, he often picks up the kids at daycare. He plays with them, helps them with their homework, does much more parenting than his father ever did. Yet his wife, Robin, is still annoyed with him.
Isn't that great what he's doing? He's doing much more than your father did.
I mean, would you pat him on the back and say, oh, isn't it great you're doing more than nothing? I don't think so.
Robin's upset because although Corey helps with the kids, she feels the burden of responsibility falls on her, and she's overwhelmed. Watching her, Corey and Robin let her cameras spend several days with them. I can see why she feels overwhelmed. Robin works away from home about 30 hours a week. She's an accountant. And when she's not at work, she's still working constantly, attending to the details of the kids' lives. Yes, Corey does pitch in, but somehow all the little stuff that has to be done.
Could you just make sure that she knows that there is a scout meeting tonight? And
the scheduling, cooking the kids' meals, cleaning and buying their clothes, the breaking up of fights. The family knows that's something they count on Robin to do.
It's kind of like she's the parent and you're the assistant parent.
It's an interesting way to put it.
It's a good way to put it.
It's a good way to put it.
So why doesn't Corey do more? Well, you get a clue watching what happened when Corey did pitch in, helping his son with his math, which he allowed him to do with a pen instead of a pencil.
Right.
You told him you could use pen?
No, I didn't say anything.
So what do you mean
I didn't know.
No, you know I was using pen. You just didn't say anything.
I said use it carefully.
He's not allowed to use pen.
I'd rather use pencil though, because what?
Oh, he clearly is the assistant. That must make Robin the boss. Robin says if she weren't the boss, things wouldn't get done right.
Okay, can I just do this one little last problem?
No. When he serves dinner, it's a hot dog, and I'll say, oh, what did they eat with it? Nothing.
And if he were left on his own, the kids wouldn't eat well.
Oh, no.
What's going on here? Corey's not normally a lazy guy. He works hard at his radiology practice. Yet at home, he backs off and leaves it to Robin.
All right, let your mom take care of you, right?
I've done as much as I can, and maybe it's more natural for her to pick up some of the responsibilities at this point.
More natural.
I
More
say he's
natural.
done as much as he's wanted to do, and says, okay, you do it. I don't want to do anymore.
So
What's happening with Robin and Corey is a common source of conflict between parents today, says psychologist Ron Taffel, who just wrote a book and runs workshops on why parents disagree.
This talk tonight is about how we can work together as mothers and fathers.
Taffel says this wonderful new idea that men and women would be equal parents has run into snags. Women complain that they're tired of being perceived as the only ones who know how to do the nitty-gritty of parenting.
I didn't know any of this stuff either when I became a mom. And all of a sudden, when I became a mom, like, I don't know where it all came from, but all of a sudden I know it. And he's very talented and smart too. How come he doesn't know it?
And the typical complaint from men? She wants me to do 50% of the work, while she keeps 100% of the control.
It would be better if my wife would leave either the room or the house. Like if I came home and
Someone said for how many years?
did an errand.
This man says if his wife would just butt out, he'd be fine at parenting.
When the both of us are there,
That's when there's a problem.
yeah.
Put clean laundry away.
Taffel asked the fathers to make a list of what they do for the kids. He reads this father's lists at the workshops.
Talk to the kids. Try to find out how school was. Put the dishes in the dishwasher. Set up for dinner. Discuss
Many
his
women
homework.
say, I wish my husband did that much.
This is an involved dad.
Taffel also asked the wives to make lists.
This is Anne's list.
There are things like calling the orthodontist, calling the doctor,
3
Making-
phone calls to arrange weekend plans.
and the moms just, in almost every case, they take this stuff on. Every woman that is watching now knows what I mean when I say the endless list. They just get it. They know it.
Let me ask you some questions. Who informs the school that your child won't be coming due to an illness?
To illustrate how unequal some parenting is, Taffel devised a quiz you may want to test yourself at home. Who attended the last school meeting? Do you know your child's shoe size? Do you know their teachers' names? Who chose the pediatrician? The babysitter? Who organizes birthday parties? It's almost always mothers who do these things,
And get milk. Okay.
and often resent it, as Robin does. When Robin asks Corey to bring home pizza and milk for dinner, does he?
Oh, I forgot to pick up milk.
Okay, go get milk.
I'm just gonna get milk.
You need to get milk?
Yeah.
I need milk.
After dinner, Robin will take her son to a Cub Scout meeting, and before she goes, she asks Corey to do some things.
Try vacuuming.
Vacuuming?
Try some vacuuming, get the laundry, give Ariel a bath, and of course the pizza's still out.
Yeah, I'll do it later.
Want a bath? Meanwhile, Mom goes to the Cub Scout meeting where she continues parenting for a whole group of kids.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got enough.
While Dad relaxes in front of the TV. He does, half-heartedly, raise the issue of a bath.
Did Mommy say you need a bath?
Had it yesterday.
You had a bath. Okay, because I didn't know that.
So much for the bath. When Robin comes home, she checks up on Corey.
What did you do, Coral?
We showed this tape to Dr. Taffel.
Stop it right there. Robin immediately begins to question what happened. She's already getting annoyed that not everything was done. You can hear it in her voice. You can almost see Dad start to shrink in size. He's got to defend and report what he did.
Taffel says this happens when parents don't feel equally responsible for child care. When they fall into that pattern of Mom's the boss, Dad's the assistant.
I end up being the one that has to tell him
You supervise him.
what needs to be done. Sometimes. I wish I didn't need to.
And how do you feel when she talks to you that way?
I feel as though it's like I got to answer to the boss of the house, in a sense, at least as far as the kids are concerned.
Taffel says when fathers feel supervised and judged, they start acting like children. They take on even fewer responsibilities.
What happens to dads? It's not good for dads. It's not good for us. It makes us feel like we're not connected to the current of the family. It makes us feel like we have another boss. So everybody loses.
The biggest single thing that mothers can do,
Taffel's advice? You mothers should relinquish some control.
do not comment, criticize, or monitor when your husband does stuff around the house with the kids. Why are you sliding down in your seat when I say that? How does that make a dad feel? What'd you say? Incompetent. What is it called?
Sometimes we men do seem incompetent, but could it be that we just have different styles? In Taffel's audience are Joe and Myrtle Nunn. Each has a very different bedtime ritual.
How did I get this straight? Is that
Myrtle does it very tenderly, and it takes forever.
And be sure to scrub all the dirt.
Good night.
Good night.
I love you.
Love you too.
What else do?
Joe would rather teach the kids independence.
Just go brush your teeth. So when you get through, you turn off the lights in here?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna come back and check you guys, okay? No bedtime story on Friday night.
Myrtle prefers her way, but she backs off, and Dr. Taffel says she should.
So we have different styles in childbearing. Kids adapt to them.
If you women ease up, he says, your husbands will take on more of the endless list. And that's his main advice to the husbands.
Take that list and divide it up and take some of the mommy time. Don't take the Mr. Excitement times.
Dads tend to come home and play games with the kids. Moms do more of the drudgery. Taffel points out that it's often during quiet times, when boring things are being done, that kids open up. Myrtle's hardly looking at her child when he suddenly confides to her about something that hurt him.
He says, when you go on the beach, everybody says Free Willy, Free Willy.
What does that mean?
I don't know. He says I don't have a brain.
This intimacy is something that dads often don't get.
Just don't pay attention to people like that, so. Okay?
She's teaching about values, they're talking together, and her child is trusting her at that moment.
There's always going to be people that are going to make wisecracks. Okay.
You can't replace that moment with even an exciting moment at Little League.
We need to be able to connect with our kids.
So did the workshop make a difference to Robin and Corey and Joe and Myrtle? They say it did. Joe now spends more quiet time with his kids.
Looks like a good word.
And 2 weeks after the workshop, Robin says,
It's not all my responsibility, and I didn't realize it, that I kind of perpetuate a lot of my problems.
in turn, Corey is doing more and seems to get something back for it.
Mom, do I need to eat anymore?
Did Daddy already tell you yes?
No.
Now, when Corey makes a rule, Robin backs off.
I said yes.
And yes,
So
you have to
yes,
eat more.
that's the answer.
No.
He fed them, I think, 2 nights this past week, and I never even asked him what he fed them.
They're still alive.
Right.
Well, John, let's get personal. You've got 2 little kids. What happens with you and your wife?
I wish I had heard this advice years ago, because my wife would complain I wasn't doing enough, then I would do more, and she then would criticize what I did. It drove me crazy, and I finally had to take a time where I would just take the kids for a day just to get away from her so I could enjoy being a parent.
So,
We've worked it out since,
so
but...
if you spend your own time with the kids rather than little bits and pieces, that works better.
And then she saw that I wasn't going to kill the kids.
They're still alive. Listen, it's much better than when it used to be Daddy will come home and punish you. You know, wait until Daddy gets home.
It's nicer to divide it. I enjoy it.